Have you ever wondered why you can't always play a shot as straight as you've lined it up? It might be that you can't see the shot straight because your eyes aren't looking at it from the right position.
For example, if I'm looking downwards too much when I'm at the table, I'm going to have to lift my head up to see what happens.
And that's just going to make things even more of a challenge.
And just by having my head at a slightly higher angle on the shot may prevent me from ever feeling the need to jump up off it.
But if you're sighting across the shot at an angle, you may not even be able to see you're doing anything wrong.
The good news is there's a simple test you can do that works even better if you've got a camera phone. This test will show you how to cue up to the ball straighter and could prevent you missing most straightforward shots. So this is how to sight the shot straighter, which will improve your game without having to change your head position, which will almost certainly ruin it.
Unfortunately, however, we have to begin with a misunderstanding that I believe started with Doug Mountjoy back in the late 80s. He shot to form, winning 2 tournaments in a row, including the UK Championships against Stephen Hendry. Doug had been cueing up to the ball in the centre of his chin like Steve Davis, but moved across to his right eye and began to get more success. People wrongly thought this was because he was sighting underneath his dominant eye. So what exactly is a dominant eye?
In the same way that everybody's either right or left-handed, it appears that everybody has a dominant eye.
You can find yours by forming a triangle with your hand. If you focus on something that's far away and close one eye followed by the other, the eye that's looking at the object is your dominant eye.
So my dominant eye is clearly my right eye. What I'm supposed to do now, and please don't do this, is sight under my dominant eye. And I literally cannot see where this is going. It looks like I'm playing the shot sideways.
This is because it looks to me like I'm hanging off the right side of my cue, and that's because I would normally sight under my left eye. This is because eye dominance doesn't appear to have any bearing on what we usually refer to as the centre of your vision, which for me is actually under my left eye. And if you get your cue positioned in the centre of your vision like this, you will easily be able to see straight along it and where the shot's going to go.
Mine appears to be here somewhere, but it's different for every single player.
For example, Ronnie O'Sullivan's is under his left eye but a little bit more centred, Judd Trump's actually under his right eye but still centred, and Stuart Bingham's is way out to the right.
But what this means is if you appear to be looking straight along the line of your cue, then you're almost certainly getting this bit of it right. You can test this by cueing along the bulk line, but this is something you'll probably find you'll do naturally. But there's something you might not. The problem I believe affects a lot of players is although they may be able to see straight along the line of their cue, they're not looking in the right direction. In the same way I'm not looking at the camera here, but I can see it, and if I move my eyes I can see straight at the camera, but I'm actually looking in that direction. This is what I discovered about my own technique. When I was on the shot, although I could see straight in line with the pocket, I'm actually looking over there somewhere. My head is pointed in that direction. Now that means I can still pot the balls, but there are going to be some negative consequences for that. Because if these represent my eyeballs, then ideally I want them at a 90-degree angle to the shot. If, however, I've got my left eye slightly in front of my right eye, then I'm going to see the shot at an angle, which isn't a problem in terms of seeing it straight, because I can still see it in a straight line, but because I'm looking in the wrong direction, I might not be able to tell what the middle of the cue ball is, and that might result in me putting unwanted side spin on the cue ball.
Another problem this was causing for me is shots I was cutting to the left-hand side looked thicker than the identical shot when I was cutting the ball to the right.
But don't worry, even if you're looking way offline, there is something you can do about it.
And we're going to be looking at that after we find Ruben, who's from Potchefstroom, South Africa, which is in there.
If you have a smartphone, this is pretty easy to test. Just hit record and place the camera lens above the bulk line, rest it against the cushion, and then just cue up as straight as you possibly can along the bulk line, and you'll be able to see if one eye is in front of the other. You can see I'm very close to being spot on here, except my left eye is a little way in front, meaning I'm looking very slightly to the right.
I can then look at correcting this, and it's actually easier to do if you have a small mirror or a bigger screen, because you can get the feedback there or then, but most people don't tend to have those things on them.
Either way, when you get the results back, you may find your eyes are level, perfectly in line with the shot, in which case you don't have to do anything. But it's possible you may be looking slightly to the right on the shot, or you may be slightly looking to the left, leading with your right eye. In either case, you don't want to move your head around on the cue, and there's 3 reasons for this. The first of these is if you change the position of your head on the shot, so instead of going there, let's go over to here, then that brings my body a bit wider, and that means that my body's in the wrong position and I don't find it easy to pot the ball. The second is if you're forcing your head into an unnatural position every shot, it can really cause you back and neck pain. But most crucially of all, it can be difficult to remember the exact angle you had your head at, and this just means it's hard to become consistent. Because of this, the best way to make the adjustment is actually with your stance. Normally with a stance, we're talking about getting this foot in the perfect place so the cue stays directly above the line of the shot, and it's easier to pot the ball. But this time we're talking about the other foot. This is because you can have a technique where you stand completely square on, where both my feet are roughly the same distance from the table, or you can stand at what's known as a 45-degree angle. This is where I have one leg that's a lot closer to the table, and this can make quite a big difference to the angle you're looking at. Because I'm right-handed, if I stand at 45 degrees and go to play a shot, I'm actually looking in that direction. But if I go to play a shot with a square-on stance, I'm going to be looking more in that direction.
If you're right-handed, then moving your left leg further forward causes your head to rotate a bit and makes you look further to the right. If you're left-handed, then moving your right leg further forward causes your head to rotate around to the left.
You just need to find the position for this foot that gets your eyes as level as possible. You can see as I push this shot forward, I actually start looking over there more, and as I drag it back I start looking in that direction. So if I just find the right place, which I think is about there, I'm now looking straight along the line of my cue. If you can't get it perfect with your stance, you can very slightly change the position of your chin on the cue just to get it perfect, but it really doesn't matter too much. Previously I was standing with my left leg slightly in front of my right leg, which meant I was looking slightly to the right on the shot. I dragged this back to be level and square on, and I found this allowed me to see straight in line with the shot. And then I gave it some practice.
I was a bit inconsistent for about half an hour or so until I really got used to it, but I could still tell there was something a little bit off with this.
Because I now had this foot in a slightly different position, it meant I had to realign this foot. I'll link a video at the end that shows how you do this, but once I got this right, I started to be able to see in cue pretty much dead straight.
I have to point out at this stage, if it really isn't working after a lot of practice, then it isn't right for you and you definitely should go back to whatever it was you're doing. But the question is, does this actually work? Having tried it for a week or so now, has it actually improved my game?
I can only speak for myself, but personally I feel like it's made a big difference to my game, and I wish I'd discovered it sooner. After about just half an hour of practice, it felt a lot easier to play the shots. I'm not 100% confident I can explain why yet, but the angled shots seemed a lot easier to judge, and shots that I'd usually be unconfident with, ones that maybe I became a little bit under pressure on, I have less trouble with. It seems a lot easier to just stick on line to the shot and not move off line. It also appears to be easier to play shots with less unwanted side spin, and I'd advise everybody to have a test of this because it just seems to make the game easier to play.
And the top video will show you how to improve at the game, including how to get the stance right in the first place, or why not have a look at a world record break. And remember, don't just watch play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.